Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet an international speaker. He's spoken to 25,000 CEOs in the last couple decades. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
I am so honored to have my next guest on my show. I mean, you have a lot of like one-name people: Cher, Madonna, Boaz. A one-name guest. Boaz, thanks for coming on the show. He's an international speaker. He's a trainer. He's a consultant. He's an author. He's my friend. Thank you for coming on the show.
Jeff, it's a pleasure.
Okay, so who is Boaz?
He was a wealthy farmer in the Old Testament. I was born in Israel at a very young age. Used to live on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. In fact, Jeff, that's where I learned how to swim. When I was 6, my brother was 5, my dad threw us into the water, and as soon as we got out of the gunny sacks, we did fine. But anyway, people in Israel would name their kids after characters in the Old Testament. So I was named after a character in the story of Ruth. There were 3 characters: Boaz, Naomi, and Ruth, and I was named Boaz. He was the grandfather of King David. So I have a heritage that I carry on from the Bible.
That's beautiful. How did you end up becoming a speaker?
My mother, may she rest in peace, who was from Poland, dad from Austria. They both went to Palestine in 1935 to build a new country. She lost 4 brothers and sisters and her parents in the Holocaust. But Jeff, she had the most positive attitude of anybody I've ever known. So I had to ask her one day, I said, Mom, how can you have such a positive attitude? Because you, if anybody, have a right to hate everybody, including God, forever. Her answer, Jeff, was amazing. She says, son, if I don't have a good attitude, then they got me too. And they didn't shoot one bullet. So Mother enjoyed learning about people. She said, everybody's got a story. Jeff, you've got a story. You've got a story. She would ask you the right questions. She'd learn something new about you. And then she'd ask you something nobody's ever asked you before. And that question would change your life.
Wow.
I loved what she did. And that's what I get to do now with CEOs all over the world.
And you told me something while we were practicing for the show, that when you give a speech, you actually let the audience tell you which speech to give. Explain.
And that's really one of the keys to success. You know, Jeff, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Maybe we should listen twice as much as we talk. But the average person talks too much and they miss opportunities. So one very good way to be much more successful, you may want to take some notes, by the way, during this time, I could say something valuable, is to ask a lot of questions. Just to ask a lot of questions. So in my presentations, now for 22 years, 25,000 CEOs, I just ask a lot of questions. People think my program is brilliant. So I give one valuable idea and then go around and ask each one, what did you find valuable about that? Because people will fight for their own ideas. So rather than lecture, ask people questions.
I think that's brilliant, because I've run into so many speakers who are like giving the same speech for 25 years, and it has to be like a Beach Boys concert being asked to play Good Vibrations again. It becomes almost like a tour guide at Disney World. Your speech is always adapting to the audience.
Yeah, I always have a certain number of major points, but I use no PowerPoints. I don't have 200 PowerPoints where you put everybody to sleep and we all read. Could we get our primer out and all read what's on the screen? I have 0 PowerPoints. My program is the audience. When you make people around you look good, you'll do just fine. So I want to make sure everybody in my audience looks good, sounds good, and says, I could do that idea. I could really work with that because they expressed it.
Incredible. We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down the website, I want you to talk about Vistage, because we're both big fans of Vistage. It's an organization that's been around for many, many decades. Tell us about Vistage and the types of members they attract.
Started in 1956. it was not far from where you used to be a newscaster, up in Minnesota and
Yes.
so forth. Yes. Where a businessman felt all alone making decisions, and he couldn't talk to people about his challenges at his company. So he called a few buddies together who also ran companies, and they started having coffee meetings every few weeks, and they would help each other with ideas. And that was so productive that now has turned into over 40,000 people in 38 countries around the world. And they meet in groups of about a dozen each, one day a month in their area, no competing companies, and they share ideas to help each other to become more successful. And in the morning portion of their all-day meeting, they bring in a resource speaker like me to share ideas.
So how many Vistage speeches do you think you've done over the last
The
couple?
last one 2 weeks ago was 2,179.
Is that right? And you actually know.
I know exactly. I know it 22 years. And Jeff, I'm going to continue doing it until I get it right. You know, there's got to be a point where somebody says you finally got it right. Nobody told me you have to practice, so I just continue practicing.
Well, Boaz is an amazing speaker. We found his sizzle reel. Let's play a little clip from that.
My mother, who I think you might agree, having lost 4 brothers and sisters and her parents in the Holocaust, had the most positive attitude of anybody I've ever known. So everybody please write down, attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. It's not a part of the thing, it's not a majority, it's everything. John D. Rockefeller, the founder of the family fortune, said, I'd much rather hire somebody with a great attitude than somebody who's got more degrees than a thermometer and has no clue. So there are some things we can control, a lot of things we cannot control, but the one thing we have total control over is our mind, our attitude.
The thing I learned from Boaz is it's all about my attitude. I can control my attitude, I can control what I think, I can control my energy, and it's about being positive.
Let me give you something from Israel that you can do at your company immediately to improve everything. The number one product in all companies in Israel is not specifically the product they make. It is new ideas. Everybody over there is sold on the thing that our number one product is new ideas. So if you would like everybody in your company to suddenly feel very innovative, go to FedEx office, have a banner made about 8 feet wide, and put on it the words, welcome to your idea factory. Welcome to your idea factory. So sooner or later, people will ask you, how's business? Okay? And what you say next is really important because it gives them the impression of what you're really doing. And most people will tell you exactly how it is. Well, you know, it's not the same since 9/11, and the weather, and the government, and our people are responding, and this, and this, and this. Is any of that any good? I don't think so. What if I give you one word? What if I give you one word? People ask you, how's business? Use this one word with enthusiasm, and I guarantee 100% of the people out there will think you're doing great. So the one word I suggest you use is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now think about that. Won't that cover both ends of your spectrum, good or bad? Am I right? Am I right about that? And I believe from your leadership, they want you to tell the truth, right? That is the truth no matter what. But when you do it with enthusiasm, everybody will give you the benefit of the doubt and think you're doing great.
Okay, so I've got to ask you this question because I think the number one fear in America is fear of public speaking, and the number 2 fear is fear of death. Have you always been a natural speaker?
No. In fact, when we came to America, I was 9 years old, Jeff. And if you can imagine going from Israel to Tulsa, Oklahoma, that is culture shock. The only thing I knew about the western part of the U.S. as a 9-year-old in Israel, the John Wayne movies I saw over there with the Hebrew subtitles. He'd come over, he'll see a bunch of Indians and say, Oy vey, pilgrim. So I learned how to speak English by watching people like you on television. I watched The Lone Ranger on television. So for a while, I thought everyone's name was Kimosabe. But by the time I'm in high school, I've now learned to speak enough English that I could become a newscaster on the largest rock and roll radio station in Tulsa.
Wow.
But wait, don't get overly impressed. I was fired 2 months later, Jeff. Only 2 problems. I'm still emotionally working through them. At the time, I had a German accent because my parents' first language out of Europe was German. No TH in German, which didn't work well on a rock and roll radio station, and I couldn't read well on the air. Other than that, I was perfect. So I went to work with my high school speech teacher, and 6 months later got rid of the accent and went to work for another large radio station, which is one of the main points I teach, that we ought to look at the fact that it's easy for us to change. Because the majority of people don't get very far because they say it's so hard for me to change.
Yes.
I could never do what you're doing. How do I know? If I give it a shot, I might be better.
Right.
But if I say it, I'm right. Because whichever way you see anything, you're right. So I teach people, be careful the words you use. If you want to become a better speaker, don't say, I could never do that. Say, there's a chance I could. And so I teach people, never get up in front of an audience with no notes, never memorize a speech, don't use a teleprompter unless you've had a lot of experience like Jeff has, but never get up without some basic notes. 3x5 cards, basic notes, and read your notes. Start with a question, pose 3 points, give a conclusion. You can prepare in minutes, get up, and people think you've been doing it forever. Just read your notes.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I became friends with the late great Zig Ziglar, and he talked about stinking thinking.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever had the pleasure of meeting Zig.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
You brought 2 best-selling books.
Yep.
Go ahead and hold them up, and please talk about them.
Here's the deal. If you really want to change your life, then realize that words have power, and whatever you say becomes an order to your brain. So again, Jeff, if I jokingly say to you, Jeff, that I'm a clumsy person, give me 10 minutes, I'll walk down your amazing studios here in Dallas and I'll trip, because my mind heard Boaz is a clumsy person. If I say I can never get ahead with money, my brain will show me how tough a time I can have, because it takes it as an order. So if you change the words that are in your brain, you'll change your life. And that comes from reading specific books. I'm about to show you 2. The problem with those books, all those books, is people are reading too many, for those who are reading them, and not internalizing anything. How about finding 1 or 2 books and just read those at least 3 times? So let's go to some foundational books. From 1935, most people know this, but have not really read it. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie, one of the 10 all-time best-selling books, the history of the world, on the bestseller list every year since 35.
Wow.
In my opinion, the best personal development, people skills, human relations, getting along with other people, leadership book ever written. Basic concepts, smile, start in a friendly way, put yourself in their shoes, be an active listener. And most people miss all of this most of the time. Second book, from 1937 by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Jeff, this book has made more millionaires than any other book in history.
Amen.
Now, I'm not saying that money is the answer to everything, Jeff, but listen, you can be miserable in a better part of Dallas, okay? Just work with me on this, okay? Anyway, this book is about the great industrialists of the last century, Henry Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison. They all had something in common, and it's all in here. But here's the trick, Jeff. Don't just read these books once and put them away. That'll do nothing. That'll go in one ear and out the other. In fact, that can make you narrow-minded. A friend of mine, so narrow-minded, his ears touched. But anyway, how about 1 page a day in each book? And when you get through, read them over again. 1 page a day in each book. You have a difficult moment, you're upset about something, pick up one of the books and read a page. I read these 2 books once a month, every month, for 5 years.
Wow.
60 times each, now they're a part of me. And this is much more than about money. This is an attitude book. That's what this really is. So whether it's these 2 or another one, Jeff, find one and read it 3 times. Then it becomes a part of you.
And I think the genius is that these books were written, almost a century ago.
Truly.
But the stories that they told, the lessons that they're imparting are timeless.
Totally.
So to a Gen Zer who says, why would I read something from the 1930s? No, there's some wisdom there.
Totally.
That transcends generations.
Totally. And everybody's always looking for the next new thing. How about going back to something old that really works?
Amen.
And getting really good at that.
Yes.
Just a page a day? How much time would that take? Come on.
Okay. As long as we're talking about great books, let's talk about how to become brand new. So let's put this on the screen, because you wrote this book in 2019, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and tell us about the book.
It's about marketing ideas. I used to have my own advertising agency. And so over the years, I've accumulated ideas that I've tested with CEOs all over the world. And they say, this works, this works, this works. And we're all marketing ourselves every day one way or another. Would you agree, Jeff? We're all.
Amen.
We're all in sales.
Yes.
You don't want to persuade somebody to go to a movie, then you're in the sales process of persuading that person. So I put together various ideas, and here I'll share a couple of them with you, because you all look like you're nice people over there. Anyway, people go to texting now much quicker than they do to emails, right? So how about instead of texting words, which means you have one phone talking to another, those words are not human. Those are words on a screen, right? That's not a person. How about doing a 30-second video and just texting that to somebody? Where you take a picture on your phone, you can just move it over, you take a video, 30-second video. It's much more productive. Let's say you and I just had a business conference on a call or whatever. Here's what I follow up with, a 30-second video. Jeff, I really enjoyed our phone conversation today. I'm very excited about our meeting next Monday at 2. Have a great day. Bye. And I text that to you with no words.
Right.
What do you get? Like a TV screen with an arrow. Everybody pushes the arrow.
Yes.
And you see me, you see a real human communicating rather than words on a screen that can be misconstrued. And then I also teach people, you want to get the attention of somebody in business, old-fashioned handwritten note cards. This is so gone out of style, it's brand new. Most people haven't seen one of these since it took 2 seashells to park your dinosaur. But anyway, but don't use note cards with your name printed on them or your company printed on them, because then I'm thinking, you have a bunch of those, don't you? You send them to everybody. Go to CVS or Walgreens, buy a bunch of blank note cards. They'll think you bought it for them. One line on a handwritten note card, more touching than 2 paragraphs in an email. All you have to do, Jeff, enjoyed our phone conversation Tuesday. See you next week, Boaz. And if your handwriting's not real good, print. Put a ruler across the middle of the card and print each letter down to the ruler. Make it look spectacular. No phone number in the card. Your business card goes behind the card in the envelope. And then name and address do not appear anywhere on the card. I want them to open it up immediately and go to the post office, get a bunch of small denomination stamps. 5 cent, 10 cent, 20. Put 11 stamps on the envelope that equal the postage.
Wow.
Get his attention.
I mean, these are brilliant ideas. I hope you are taking notes, because
You should.
I could go on for another hour with you because you're fascinating, but we're almost out of time. So in the last 2 minutes, talk to the person at home who might need to bring you in as a keynote or a coach. What do you want to talk to? What do you want to say?
Well, my dearly departed Jewish mother, as well as my sweetheart, my wife, who I just married last November, she's fantastic, and would want me to tell you one thing about, to get you to book me, but I want to do something different. I just want you to change your life. Okay, if I can change your life, you'll tell somebody about me. Look, just write down some positive affirmations, a few lines that you declare the first thing every morning and the last thing every night, and watch how your life will change in 30 days. And here is the most profound line ever. My sweetheart and I say it every day, every day. Are you ready for this? Everything I touch prospers and succeeds. Just say that the first thing every morning and the last thing every night. Don't analyze it. Just say it. For 30 days, everything I touch prospers and succeeds. I guarantee that'll change your life.
Incredible. I just got goosebumps. Okay, we're going to end with your website so people can get in touch with him. It's boazpower.com. The great Boaz, thanks for coming on the show.
A pleasure, Jeff. Thank you.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.